I cheated and my husband stormed into the hotel with a camera crew, catching us in the act. In the end, my lover tried to sue the hotel, while I lost my marriage, my family, and my dignity. It was the last time I thought I would see my ex. He was someone important in my youth, but it no longer made sense to continue. I was not at peace with myself cheating on my husband. I wanted to end it. I could have ended everything with a simple message, but instead I arranged to meet Javier at a hotel, as if I needed to sink myself a little deeper. I am serious when I say that I wanted to get my marriage back. I felt miserable for having started to distance myself from my husband for no reason at all. I only did it so I would not have a guilty conscience when I slept with Javier. But it only worked for me for a few months because, honestly, every day I felt dirtier. I was ashamed to walk down the street holding my husband's hand on Sundays, not because of him, but because of what I was doing to him. The worst of all is that I did not have any compelling reason to be unfaithful. Time problems always exist in every marriage, but I was still in love with my husband. We would have our 10-year anniversary in 2 months. I liked the life that he gave me. My husband has good taste in music, restaurants, hotels for vacations. I just wanted to spend time with Javier a couple of times, or maybe 3, and then never again. But by the 3rd time we slept together, I already realized that it was going to be hard for me to leave Javier. By our 4th month, I did not want to continue anymore. I felt that my husband would discover me at any moment. Every time his cell phone rang, I imagined it was someone telling him that they saw me entering a hotel with a guy. The intimacy with Javier was good, but not that much. My husband is only a little below. But in everything else, my husband is above Javier. I would never start a serious relationship with Javier. I could not do it considering the way we have done things. I would never have a relationship with a man who takes me knowing that I have a husband. That does not end well. There will always be mistrust from both sides. Besides, I could not do it because I still love my husband. I am sure that if I started a relationship with Javier, I would end up being unfaithful to him with my husband if I have the opportunity. I had the bad luck of an affair, one and nothing more. I did not want more than to be with Javier a couple of times, and that would be all. He is not an unpleasant guy, but I cannot stand his quirks or that he smokes so much. I hate the music that he listens to and that he likes to sing. He is so simple in some things. Javier and my husband are 2 opposite poles, and I suppose that is why he attracted me at first. I do not have anyone in my life with whom I can talk about this for hours, but in a few days it will be public. I cannot hide what has happened. There are many things that my husband and I do together with friends and family. As soon as they do not see us together this weekend, they will suspect that something happened. It will only take one phone call to know that our relationship is broken. I do not know if it is over, but I will not be able to hide from our relatives that something has happened. This Sunday we have a dinner at my parents' house. Unless something serious happens, my husband and I would not go. I do not know if I should lie when my mom calls asking why we have not arrived for dinner. I do not know if I should get ahead of it and tell them from now that we will not go. Maybe I will invent an illness. Definitely now there is no one I can tell how I feel. I do not have anyone to open up to without being judged. This makes me feel like I am drowning. Maybe it seems like it is not hard for me to write about this, and it seems like I do not care what has happened in my marriage. But it is not like that. I am destroyed inside and really terrified of what my husband decides. I am practically with 1 foot out of my husband's life, out of the Sunday family life. I am so scared. I cannot continue with my day-to-day life. I do not know what I am going to say when my family and friends start asking. I do not know how long I can hide that my husband and I are in a crisis that may have no solution other than divorce. Answering questions, no, I did not measure the consequences of what could happen. Who does that? Who stops to think that they should not sleep with another person? There are still many people who do not do it. They do not cheat, but they desire it. Those people have more control fear. I do not know. But in my case, I did not think about it much. I mean, I did at the beginning, but I thought it would not do much harm if I just tried a couple of times. That was the plan at the beginning. My work is at home. I make seasonal crafts and sell them online. Nothing big, just to keep myself entertained. My husband does work an almost 12-hour schedule, so I am alone at home a lot of the time. I do not want to imply that my husband neglected me. Despite his schedule and how tiring his job is, he made time for me. The weekends are practically for being together. He does not have many hobbies to speak of. He likes good music, good places. My husband wanted to invest more in my project of making seasonal crafts, but I told him it was just a hobby and I wanted to keep it that way. I started selling recently. In fact, I have been selling online for almost 6 months. So, this is how my ex found me. I created a profile with my full name and then I created a page to sell. Somehow, my ex found my sales page and then my real profile and wrote to me. He said he had been looking for me for a while. He said he left many messages on my old social networks. Those networks he was talking about I did not update because I did not have access to them. I lost my cell phone and could not recover some passwords. So, I left those networks. I was so sad about losing my networks that I did not want to create others. Anyway, the point is that he found me. I did not know I was actually talking to him. He did not contact me from his real profile, but from a secondary account, but it seemed real. He made the payment, but at that moment I did not really realize who was depositing the money for my products. I just saw that the payment was already made. I was making dinner when a message came from him thanking me for the service. I thought about answering him later and, while I was doing my chores, while I was thinking that I had to make more products and was preparing dinner, I felt that something did not add up with the order and the payment. I mean, I did read the name of the person who paid, but I did not pay much attention to it until that moment. I left what I was doing and went into the bank application to check the name of the person who had made the payment, and I just saw that it was not the same person or the same name as the person I had spoken with days before. But I recognized my ex's name. I was not sure if it was really him, so I looked him up on Instagram. I saw his current photos, a trip to a river, walks in plazas, and old photos of his ex-wife to be sure it was him. I wrote to him and asked him if he was the same Javier from a few years ago. He responded laughing and said he had hoped I would realize a few hours ago. We greeted each other. I thanked him for buying my products. He asked about my parents, I about his. We did not ask anything more personal, but before hanging up he said it would be a good idea if we could have a coffee to chat. I was silent for a few seconds. He interpreted it as it being too much and apologized for proposing something like that so quickly. I told him it was okay, that I could not now, but maybe another time. He said, okay, that is fine. A pleasure to hear from you. I said the same and he hung up. Days passed before we spoke again. Of course I did not mention to my husband what had happened, but I felt guilty, so I told him a half-truth. I mentioned that I had run into a friend from school at the supermarket and that maybe I would invite her to lunch on a Sunday. He said he thought it was a good idea. I dropped the subject and tried to forget about what had happened. On the 6th day, I checked Javier's social media and saw that he had uploaded photos and some words highlighting the work of my products. I thought it was a very nice gesture on his part. I wrote to him to thank him, and it was at that moment when I thought that coffee to talk was not a bad idea, but before going out with him we had other chats. Sometimes in the morning and other times in the afternoon, never at night when I was with my husband. The trust we had years ago came back. The affectionate nicknames, the moments, and the stages we lived through we remembered several times. This encouraged me to accept going out to talk and have a cup of coffee with him. It would not be a date as such, but something more casual. I would be downtown to do some shopping, and we could have a chat for half an hour or an hour at most, but we talked for almost 2.5 hours. He proposed going somewhere else, to a bar. It made me uncomfortable that he proposed that at the first meeting. I think he thought something could happen, since we had been talking for 2 hours. I told him no, that I had things to do at my house. We said goodbye. I told him it was nice to see him after all these years. He said he would love to see me again. His proposal was clear at that moment, and I should have told him that my husband knew nothing about that meeting and that, like any man, he would have a lot to say about it. But I did not tell him no, I just told him I would think about it. The following week I thought about his proposal. I thought about my husband and what he would think if I told him that I lied to him about having seen an old friend and that it was actually my ex. Then I would have to tell him that I saw my ex at a cafe and that he proposed seeing each other again. I could not tell him any of that. I do not know how I allowed the lies to accumulate and to hide things from my husband. 5 days passed. I did not talk to Javier nor he to me. Again, on the 6th day, he sends a photo of himself in front of an advertising panel about some cultural events that he and I used to go to when we were young. It was easy to see that he wanted to manipulate me. You do not have to be a specialist in dating or whatever not to see what he wanted. I did not answer him. I needed to think about what I was doing. So, I could not think of a better idea than to look for help, suggestions, and advice in forums and groups. And there they told me that the idea of going out with my ex was the best thing that could happen to me after 10 years of marriage. Just sleep with him a couple of times and then forget him, they told me in a group of unfaithful women. It was clear. I had to hide my feelings, be cautious with any detail that would give me away. No marks on the body, no calls in the presence of my husband, no dates without prior coordination. And whatever happened would only be during the hours my husband was at work. Obviously, I told the people who advised me that I was not planning to leave my husband for my ex. Then they also said that I should tell my ex that it would only be relations, and that it could end at any moment, and that I would not leave my husband for him. So I did, and Javier agreed. From the money that my husband allocates for expenses, I took a part to buy different clothes from what I always wear. I did not want to be recognized by the way I have looked. This was also a piece of advice they gave me. It would only be a couple of times, and I would keep it as an anecdote. Something that happened and was never repeated again. That is how I wanted to understand it. It would be a memory in my mind of a necessary adventure in every woman's life. They also told me that in the groups where I sought help. So I slept with my ex. It was not a big deal the first time. I was very nervous. I thought about seeing him again. But he proposed going to his house. I would feel more comfortable there, he said. And so it was. Things improved and the following times were better. But in the 3rd month of leading a double life, I asked myself what I was doing. I was starting to feel fear and terror of the calls my husband received. I tried not to touch my cell phone when he was at home. I tried to get more involved in his things just to calm my conscience, but then I felt I should do the complete opposite. I should distance myself. I asked in the forums how I could deal with the remorse. I asked for ideas on how to leave Javier. The distancing from my husband began. I kept looking for help on how to deal with my guilt. This is how I come to an infidelity subreddit, but they did not give recommendations on how to be unfaithful, but rather talked a lot about the consequences of being unfaithful. That how irreparable the marriage is after someone decides to cheat on their partner. After spending 3 hours reading testimonies, I was ready to leave Javier, but I had to make sure to leave things well with him and also have a good closure. But I did not count on the fact that there were things I could not see in my husband. I say this because I swore that he was worried about our situation, but I could have never deciphered what he was going through or thinking. Maybe my change in my routine, in my way of being, was very evident. Maybe I did something that completely gave me away. I do not know. We have not really talked about it. He does not want to have a deep conversation about it. For now there are things that I do not know. I do not know how he found the place where I was with Javier. I suppose he was spying on me, but I am sure of one thing. He did not do it alone. That afternoon there was someone else with my husband, a tall and burly guy and a woman who was recording everything. I think the week before I stopped seeing Javier gave me away completely. That week I did not answer his messages, because from the beginning I told Javier I needed to think. That week I was very temperamental, irritable, then sensitive. I was tearful and sad almost at the end, because I knew I had to put an end to the thing with Javier. I asked him to meet me at the hotel where we saw each other the first time. I thought that we started there and we should end our thing there. Prior to that, we had a chat of almost half an hour by phone a day before we met. I gave him to understand that it was enough for me. He did not ask direct questions about it. So I thought he had understood what I meant to say. We arranged for the next day in the afternoon. It would only be an hour at most. I left my house, arrived at the coffee bar where we had a drink. There, more calmly, I told Javier that I would not continue seeing him. He said he did not want to stop seeing me, but if ending it was what I wanted, he would not oppose it. I felt a lot of relief that he understood my reasons. We got sentimental, we kissed, we had one more drink, and we left. On the way in the taxi with Javier, my husband sends me a message, asks me how I was and asks me to please pick up his suit that was at the laundry. I do not know why he did that really. I think he wanted to give me the opportunity to regret what I was about to do at that moment. I replied that I was fine and that I would pick up his suit. I told him I loved him. I expected my husband to reply that he loved me too. But that message never came. I was about to call him, but we arrived at the hotel. While we were going up in the elevator, I was thinking about what I would do to make it up to my husband. We were in the room doing it. According to the hotel manager, he says that my husband, one more guy and a woman rented a room 2 doors down from the room where I was with Javier. The guy who was with my husband knocks on the door of the room where Javier and I were, but he calls Javier by his full name and told him there was a problem with Javier's identification. It seemed strange to us, but not enough to think that there was another reason why they were calling for Javier. He gets a little dressed and goes to the door. I got nervous and tried to get dressed, but when I was putting on my underwear, I hear my husband's voice say, "Where is my wife, you son of a bitch?" Then I see Javier step back and fall sitting down. The man enters and tells Javier, threateningly, to stay right where he was. My husband enters and comes straight towards me, and behind him enters a woman who works with my husband, and I know it was she who told my husband everything he had to do. I know because my husband told me more than a year ago that this woman had divorced, and that she had had her husband followed to know what he did when he went out and did not come home to sleep. My husband also said that she had gone to find her husband to record him and confront him in the middle of infidelity. And it was the same thing that happened that afternoon. I am sure that that woman planned everything and advised my husband. My husband came in and shouted, "Is this what you do when I am not here? Is this how you use my money?" I did not know how to answer. I was terrified of my husband and the huge guy who was with him. My husband asked who that guy was. He did not actually know who Javier was. He only knew that Javier was a client who bought my work. For security, so that they would not discover me, I had become a little paranoid, and every call or message from Javier I deleted. Yes, there were messages where Javier and I talked about the past, but I had deleted them all. Maybe my husband saw the last messages, but he does not know until now that Javier is my ex. My husband also asked if I did that with all my clients. He asked since when I was cheating on him. He asked me if I had cheated on him before. He asked several questions that he did not let me answer. I asked him for us to go home and talk. I got dressed there. But before putting on my shoes, my husband left the room like a demon. He tried to assault Javier before leaving the room, but the woman told him not to do it, that it was not worth it, that they had already talked about it. When I heard that, I knew that she had planned everything. She kept recording, and when I tried to go out after my husband, she took my arm strongly and pulled me back. I got scared and I stood paralyzed in silence. She said, "You stay here. Do not try anything because I am recording you. Let us go." Then she started saying things like, "Did you think you would never get caught being unfaithful?" Actually, she did not say unfaithful, but she said other more insulting words. My husband also said words that hurt me, but he was within his rights. Then the woman left the room and closed the door. Javier was getting dressed. I locked myself in the bathroom. I called my husband, but his cell phone was off. Then I did the typical drama of a woman caught being unfaithful. First, I denied what was happening. I told myself many times that what had happened could not be possible. This cannot be happening. It cannot be possible. How did he know where I was? I heard the room door open and then slam shut. I got scared. I thought my husband had come back. I stayed silent to listen. There were no shouts or anything. I came out of the bathroom and I no longer saw Javier. I walked towards the administration and saw him arguing with the manager. Javier was furious, but also scared. He was asking who had given my husband the room number where Javier and I were, in addition to Javier's full name. The manager replied that nobody gave that information to my husband and that surely they were already following us since before entering the hotel. The manager also said that my husband and the other 2 people arrived and rented a room like many couples. Besides, nobody asked for me or for Javier, nor in which room we were. Javier threatened to sue the hotel. I went out to the street afraid that my husband was outside, but he was not. Javier came out with fear in his eyes. We were silent for a few minutes. Javier stopped a taxi and got in. I stayed outside. He asked me if I was not going to get in. I told him no and I said goodbye. He did not say anything, he just told the driver to go ahead. I have not spoken to Javier again, and we have certainly not seen each other. It has only been a few days since my husband found me with Javier. I can say with certainty that I will never see Javier again. It is not worth it. I walked for a couple of hours until it got dark. I thought about what was going to happen when I got home, and from then on, I cried part of the way. I regretted that last time with all my soul. I repeated to myself over and over that this could not be happening. I had a lot of time to think about what would happen now when my family finds out, my husband's family and my friends. It will sound ridiculous now, but I started to pray for a chance to get out of this without getting divorced. I would do whatever was necessary if my husband does not ask me for a divorce. Update. Sorry for not having answered more questions, but I think my last update got too long. Sorry for leaving my last update halfway through too. Okay, so, what happened when I got home and days later? It has been 15 days since my husband surprised me in a hotel with my ex. We still have not talked about divorce. We are physically separated. We were sleeping in separate rooms. I know that he is having meetings with his lawyer, and I have done the same. For now, my lawyer has told me to keep things like this. It is very likely that my husband is seeing his possibilities. It is a fact that he will lose half of the house and the car. In addition, he will have to pay me a monthly allowance while I look for a job or specialize in my business. Unfortunately, he will lose in the material sense, but emotionally, I will lose if he finally proposes the divorce. On the other hand, I have sought help and have contacted a professional to help us and see if there are possibilities of overcoming this with some changes. But if it is possible, I have everything ready to propose to my husband. I just hope he wants to listen to what I have to say. We were waiting for my husband's next move, but it seems that he prefers to take his time. For the moment, he eats out. He is taking his clothes to the laundry. He does not allow me to take care of anything that has to do with him. Both my family and my husband's already know what has happened, and everyone is dismayed by my behavior. Nobody expected me to do something like that. If someone in my marriage could do something like be unfaithful, well, everyone who knows us would bet that my husband would be unfaithful before me. Everyone believes that because of how my husband is and because in his job there are more women than men. Everyone likes my husband, and that is also a detail that makes me think he will replace me easily. I do not know if I can bear this uncertainty anymore. I cannot stand being alone at home. The silence is driving me crazy. The memories of the good times with my husband are all over the house. We have photos in every corner. I do not know what to answer when they ask me why I did it. In my family, they have asked me about 100 times. They ask me, and now what is going to happen? What are you going to do? I do not know what to answer. My dad says he is sure I will come back home. He says he cannot believe that I have disappointed everyone in that way. He feels ashamed to look his friends in the face. I have written an apology to my husband's parents. I do not dare to see them in person. I have not said anything to the other relatives of my husband or mine, and I do not plan to. So, there is nothing more I can tell you now. Quick edit. Hello, I am not going to do an update as such, it will just be a short edition. I want to leave this here in this same post. Today, 2 months after my last edition, the relationship of my parents with the parents of my ex-husband is definitively broken. They have been friends since they were young, and it is a great sadness that things end like this for them. Obviously, I am the responsible one, or rather, the terms of the divorce. Well, I am officially divorced. I am in the middle of moving, so I cannot get too distracted by writing. Basically, my husband did not want to continue with the marriage. He did not accept any apology from me. He did not want to talk about what happened. He has things clear and does not want half answers as he believes I will give them. So, a month ago, he signed and sent me the papers. There was nothing more to do, so I signed them too. Not before trying by all means to talk to him. I even asked my parents and my ex-husband's parents for help, but he said no to everyone. I do not feel proud of what I have done. As some people in my family circle or my husband's relatives want to imply, they do not know anything. The terms of the divorce are simple. The house that he paid for we are going to sell and divide the profits. The car stays with him. I gave up the alimony. My father does not want me to take a cent from my ex-husband's salary, but he considers that for having done the house chores for him, I deserve half of the money they give us for the house. I will sell him my part of the car. He needs it more than I do. My ex-husband's parents argued with my parents. They alleged that I do not deserve a part of the house. They say that I did not work to pay for it. There is nothing left to say but that I am very sorry how this has affected my family and my ex-husband's family. Our families have been very close for more than 45 years. All the plans and celebrations of all the years in which our united families participated are definitively behind us. I am very sorry that it is like this. In reality, it was already very difficult for our families to remain united after how my ex-husband discovered my infidelity. I think the terms of the divorce only accelerated the separation of the families. Javier, seriously, is suing the hotel because, according to him, they revealed the number of the room where we were and also for not helping us quickly. He wants me to join the lawsuit too or to act as a witness. I do not plan to do it. I want to forget what happened. I have already made it clear to him that I do not want to know anything more about him or the hotel. Javier did not take my refusal to join the lawsuit against the hotel well. He has blocked me from everywhere and has set his social media to private. Speaking of networks, I had to close my sales page and my profile because my husband's relatives were destroying me with comments, calling my work garbage. I know I did wrong, but did I deserve for them to also ruin the only thing that gave me a livelihood? I prefer to remain silent, hoping that the scandal dies down, that everyone forgets what happened or that something worse happens that makes my sin take a back seat. Maybe there will be another account, although I know that many will only follow me to point fingers at me. In the end, this divorce was a sentence that only fell on me. He came out as the untouchable victim, and I as the absolute villain.